Fumble, episode 62, guys. And it's going to be a deep one today. And I wish we had 20 hours because we're probably going to need that to really get the full story of this person that I discovered through TikTok. And I reached out to him and we had a conversation a few days ago. And let me just tell you that we're only going to scratch the surface during this episode with what he's been through and where he's at now. A quick intro. Recovering anxiety sufferer, and that's going to be one of our main topics today. He knows, and he himself found it hard to trust people during difficult times. And he went and he's an avid researcher. He overcame his anxiety, and he tried everything. And finally, what gave him the light, he has on his website, IamHere.org. And now he helps others deal with not just anxiety, but a laundry list of mental health issues. He's a mental health advocate, and that's what got me to reach out to him, as I am myself an advocate, but he's doing way more about it than I am. Amazing guy, great mind, Anthony Caputo. Hey, man, thanks for joining.
Absolutely, brother. Absolute pleasure, my friend.
And did I miss anything on the intro? I know there's a lot, but
there's so much. Actor, author, the list goes on and on.
That's right. He's an actor as well, and he's a talented guy, but he's a real guy. And I learned that quick with a short conversation I had with you. You have a book as well.
I do.
Yeah.
Never thought I would ever write a book, but a publishing company reached out to me and they got a glimpse of my vlogs.
Yeah.
And thought about putting it in a book to, kind of reach out to more people, because the vlogs, really give a lot of perspective of my journey. But I kind of wanted to it was always about giving more, right? So I figured if I can, tell people a little bit about my journey and then put those 5 steps that I've discovered into them, at least they got some writing material.
Yeah, it's beautiful. And the title of your book is, for people to go find it?
It is called My Tragic Pursuit and the 5 Steps to Freedom. It's on Amazon.
Guys, you got to go check this book out. You're going to get a glimpse of why this book is so important. We're going to talk about it. So let's out of the many things that you've been through, anxiety is one that I think we connected on. And yes. I want to kind of get a background on that. So tell the audience when you started discovering, or when you started feeling anxious, and how that all came about.
I can remember my first anxiety attack like it was yesterday. I was 5 years old, and it came out of nowhere, and I had no idea what it was, how to feel, how to react. I was completely clueless. So after about a year of experiencing these attacks I was getting, they started getting worse, and they were just becoming more frequent. So I started reading from the age of about 6 years old, 5-6 years old. I made my mom purchase an encyclopedia. Back in the day, the sales guys would come to the door and tell you those encyclopedias. So I made my mom buy me the encyclopedias, and I just started studying. And it never stopped, over 30 years of studying. But, over the course of the years, the anxiety gets worse and worse, and it leads to so many other ailments. Depression kicks in, OCD. It's just a laundry list of stuff that occurs, right?
What, you were 5, you didn't know that's what it was at 5. What were you thinking at that age? Like, what's going on? Like, what were the symptoms?
It's funny because even at 5, it didn't make a difference being 20 or 30. How do you explain to somebody what anxiety feels like? It's this fear that, the way I explain it is, even if somebody doesn't have anxiety, have they ever almost had a bad car accident or something that was, life or death situation where it's like, and it takes your breath away and your heart's beating fast and you just get that fear.
Mm-hmm.
That's what anxiety is, right? And it's hard. Like it's not a conversation you're going to have in the locker room with your buddies, or when you meet your partner. It's not a conversation you're going to have. So at that age, I think what made it worse was, how do I explain this? All I can tell my mom or my dad was I was scared. And to sleep with the light on, or I'll read you a book. So that's where it went. But I mean, I was already dealing with so much more, right? I was getting molested at about the age of 4 from when I remember. And that molestation happened right up until the age of 13. So at the end of the day, and it wasn't just one person. You're talking, it was 4 people that I remember, and 2 of those were family members. So these people that you're supposed to trust, and even having anxiety, you look for that comfort in people, and you couldn't even go there, right? Like you're sitting at Christmas dinners with these people, and this is something we were a very close family, and my parents had no idea what was going on. They didn't find out till many, many years later. So it's devastating for a child to have to go through those experiences.
Yeah.
Right?
How do you and how do you explain that shit to your parents? Like you can't. You don't know where to begin. You just bottle that shit up, right?
Me and you had an amazing talk, and you come from the same kind of family pool like I am, right? Very close family, very tight knit, right?
Yeah.
So when you see the respect that these older relatives are getting from your parents, you can't say anything, right?
Yeah.
My only escape, like we were talking about earlier, my only escape was acting. I fell into acting at the age of 7 by fluke, and that was my only escape. I was able to be myself. I loved acting because I was just able to go onto a set and just be myself. And it's
funny because acting, people will think of acting for non-actors, and they think, but you're acting, you're not real. It's crazy. I get exactly what you're saying. And it's like that freedom to you're channeling everything inside you. And because it's called acting, you're literally pouring out everything inside.
The art of acting is not acting, right?
Exactly.
That's the art of acting is not acting. So, naturally you become you become a method actor. You're taking all your experiences and putting them in front of that camera.
So did that help initially? Like for a while?
It did. It helped while I was on set, and of course while I was doing my thing, right? I always had something to look forward to. And at a young age, I was a busy actor. I was very busy. So it did help a lot, but you kind of get more depressed, right? Because now after you're off set, now you're facing reality again. And don't get me wrong, I had a great family. My parents, my grandparents were just the most incredible people you'll ever meet in your life. So it wasn't that. It was, you're living with this wall up, right? And you're always guarded. And then of course, at the age of 13, I had to stop acting.
Yeah.
Trauma struck again.
Yeah. Yeah. You can elaborate as much as you want, or if you don't want, it's an open.
I was on, I got a big role for a huge Hollywood movie. They were filming here in Toronto. Fran Drescher, sorry. Rosie O'Donnell. There's a lot of big characters on the show. So I got to spend a lot of time with Rosie O'Donnell, who in fact helped me a lot on set with my anxiety. But after being away for so long, my first night home, I was with a group of friends who got into a car accident, and 4 of them died. So that was rather devastating to experience that, especially at the age of like 13. And at the funeral, I was at the funeral for one of our friends, and we had kind of like a little get together, right? There's kind of like a bush party, I guess you could say, but it wasn't, so much in the bush. It was just beside this plaza. Later on that night, I was going to go home to call my dad to pick me up. And I seen a friend at the phone booth. She was telling me how she was trying to get a hold of her mom. She was locked out of her house. So I walked her home, being the knight in shining armor, try and maybe break her into her house. Couldn't do it. So anyways, we came back to the plaza, and she called a friend to see if she can stay there. She couldn't. I said, why don't you come and stay with me? So we were kind of up in the air about things. And this gentleman approached us, and he's like, hey, I heard about the accident. What are you guys doing here? I'm sorry for you guys. You guys want to smoke a joint or you want some alcohol? And I was like, no. And my friend was like, no, but I want a cigarette. And I'm like, Leslie, do you think you should go? Like, why don't just stay with me? Like, my dad's coming, we'll go back to my house. Anyways, long story short, she left with him. I left to go back home. And it was a couple of days later, she went missing. She was kidnapped by the notorious Paul Bernardo and Carla Homolka. They're known as the Ken and Barbie killers. He was the Scarborough rapist. I don't know how many females he raped. Needless to say, just prior to kidnapping my friend, he actually had killed Carla's sister, who I think she was 14 years old at the time. It was really sick. Like as a Christmas gift, Carla gave him her baby sister. It was just a sick, twisted engagement that they had going on. So my friend, obviously they raped her. They did some pretty grotesque things to her. And the end of it was they killed her and they chopped her up and they put her in cement and they threw her in Lake Gibson up in my area here. So that was more devastating news. And
this is all within like a year of each other, right?
This was within a week.
A week?
Yeah. So the accident happened and it was at the funeral. So the funeral was not even a week later. And that's when he kidnapped her. Yeah, it was.
Yeah. That alone can fuck someone up for their whole life.
Absolutely.
That alone, I'm not even exaggerating.
You have a lot of guilt, right? You're holding on to the guilt of your friends dying in this car accident, right? It's always the what if.
Yeah.
Now you have more guilt because of this situation. So it really weighs heavy, especially me at that young age. I've always been an empath, right? So you're feeling that, and it's worse when it's your own inner emotions that you're having that power struggle with. Yeah. So I just acting was something I just couldn't do at that time. You know how it is being an actor. I mean, you got to be in that zone. You have to build those characters, and if there is anything else weighing on you that heavy, you just can't do it. So
your mind is broken. Your mind is shattered. You're trying to heal, and you don't even know where to begin. I get it. Yeah.
Yeah. So I couldn't do it, and it was devastating for me not being able to act. It was a decision that obviously at a young age I made, but it was hard because that was my only escape. It was my only sanctuary was acting. So that was it.
So what did you turn to?
Yeah. Started dancing. I became a dancer. I couldn't believe it. I started going to the dance clubs. I became a dancer, but I mean, I got to dance for some of the big greats. I got to dance for Maestro Fresh West, Big Daddy Kane, KRS-One. Our last dance was with Public Enemy. They came down to Cops Coliseum here in the area. Yeah. Danced for them. Later on that night at the hotel, NWA came walking in. I was blown away. I got to meet all of them except Ice Cube. That was the only one I didn't get to meet, but needless to say, I got to meet Dre.
That's
I got to
amazing.
meet Eazy-E. Yeah, it was really cool.
R.I.P. Eazy-E, man. He was a legend. Yeah. That's crazy though. But on a more personal level, did you think the dancing replace that thirst for you?
To be honest with you, I was numb. I think I just became numb.
Yeah.
And I think that's where really my life, the course of my life really just went downhill. Yeah. You I don't know if it's you're starving for a different emotion. Yeah. You're maybe doing things to manifest a different emotion. Like it was so confusing for me. I became an asshole. My life went downhill. I didn't give a shit about anything. I started getting deeper into organized crime and, the streets, and it was awful. It was awful. It was really bad.
What was the guide? I'm gonna just interject. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
As you're going through this kind of like steamrolling downhill,
mm-hmm.
What was family like? Mother, father, like how were they reacting to your decisions?
They were there, right? They understood. I mean, you got to remember, my parents were very young when they had me.
Okay.
I think my mom was 18. My dad was 19.
Yeah.
So we always had more of a friendship, and I was the firstborn into an Italian family. So I'm not even joking. Like I was ripped out of my mother's arms as an infant.
Wow.
Not in a bad way, but I was my grandfather's, golden child. So he brought me home, and that was it. I was pretty much raised by them, by no choice of my parents. Like my parents were great, and still to this day, my parents are the most supportive and brilliant people you'll ever meet. They are incredible people. I was just raised by my grandparents, so I think for so long, my parents, although they were great parents, it's more of a friendship, right?
I see.
It goes to show the love that a mother will have for her son, where it didn't matter what I did.
Yeah.
She supported me, and it was okay.
Yeah. I get it. So anyway, so you continue down this path, you get into trouble. Where does life go in the next
in between? There were so many deaths that I experienced. One of my best friends was hit by a car and died. Another friend committed suicide. There was just so much crap going on, but I maintained my sanity. I was always the most popular kid. I owned a dance club when I was like 16 years old. So I was extremely popular. I was always a good person, right? Like I was the guy who would beat up the bully, and if you were the more of a loser that I seen that you were, I wanted to be close to you.
I get it.
That's just, I don't know. It was very weird for me. I had that I felt sorry for people. You know what I mean?
I could have used you in high school, man.
Oh, brother, I would have been right there, man. I would have been right there. That's how I was. I was always like that. That's one thing I was always like, the person that was that shutout, or, that quiet kid in class. I gravitated towards those kids.
Okay.
You're
a hero, man. You're a hero, because
it's still the same now.
You get it. I think if there is any positive to take from what you went through as a kid, I think it built empathy for you much faster than most people might.
Yep.
I feel that's just me with my observation of what you've told me, but I feel like there was a lot of wisdom there, whether you wanted it or not. You got it, and you were able to see more between the lines as opposed to just
outside of that box. Yeah. I think if I were to say anything, anxiety and depression, anxiety was a fucking bully. Yeah. It fucked me up, man. Anxiety is the biggest bully you'll ever come across in your life. Yeah, so I seen what it did to me. Not only that, when you are that helpless, when you're getting molested by older people, they're bullies. There's nothing, there's no more or no less. They are bullies. So I think when I seen people like that, I gravitated towards them because I know what it felt like. I know what it felt like being that quiet kid. I know what it felt like not wanting to say anything. So my heart went to them, right? Yeah.
Yeah. You've been there. You felt, you feel their feel. You feel everything they're going through. I get it. Yeah. That's
absolutely.
It sucks. Obviously you don't wish that on anyone.
Yeah, no, of course not.
But it's crazy that, so during these times, now you're, later teens and you're maybe early 20s now, like, at what point did you ever say, okay, this is anxiety, or when did you realize that's what it was? And did a therapist have anything to do with that, or how did that all come about?
So I started through school, because obviously with the anxiety, I was a troubled student. Mm-hmm. They were looking at everything. I was getting tested through, but nobody really heard of anxiety. There was nothing there. There was no such thing as anxiety. Mm-hmm. Wasn't until later on in my teens when I figured out anxiety. Yeah. And I started digging deeper into that. There wasn't a day that went by that I didn't study it. And not anxiety so much, but the mind and how the mind works and where fear comes from and how people, just typical human behavior. And like I said, it wasn't until in my teens where I deemed the word anxiety. Yeah. What are you going to do with it? Right. What are you going to do? Like you can't, even doctors back then, I would go to my doctor. I studied so much that I would even go to my doctor, and I got journals of it. And I told my doctor, I noticed certain foods I'm eating at a certain time, this many hours later, is giving me anxiety. And he'd be like, no, it's impossible. No, I'm like, no, I'm telling you, like these certain foods I'm eating. And then it was like I started looking into the blood type diet. And sure enough, I would look at my blood type and I would look at foods I'm not supposed to be eating. And all the foods that I was saying that was giving me anxiety were right there in front of me. I was like, holy shit.
Yeah.
And then, but you know, when you're putting in that trust to the medical professions and they're telling you no, it's like, okay, I'm just an idiot. Like it's a coincidence, right?
Unfortunately, ego can fuck with a lot of truth. Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And it wasn't until now, I remember, you know, even 5 years ago when I first started coming out and going live with everything, telling people that foods are a huge contributor to anxiety. They will induce anxiety. 5 years ago, people were laughing. I got discredited. And it's not until now recently that it's like, holy shit, you know, Anthony was right. You know?
And you don't even care for the reward of that. You just, it's like, you're just trying to say, hey, let's help each other.
How many lives could I have saved from then to now?
Yeah,
you know, because it gets worse. It doesn't get easier. People think that anxiety and it gets easier. It doesn't get easier. It doesn't matter what medication you take, it's going to come back again. You know, you've become comfortably uncomfortable. And it's looking from the outside in is when people are going to notice, listen, there's fucking something wrong with you. But you don't see it. You don't feel it. You think everything is normal. And that's where I was. I was an asshole, bro. Wait till we start talking about that. I was an asshole, man. Holy shit, was I ever.
But you stood up for the people getting bullied, but you're also saying you were an asshole. So I'm curious, like, how would you be an asshole?
I was a prick to my teachers. I was you know, a rough student.
Rebellious. I
was extremely rebellious. You know, even with girls, I was such a douchebag. You know, now, I want to make a point. Although I was this douchebag, I was chasing something.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It wasn't like I just wanted sex and see you later. Mm-hmm. It wasn't that. I was trying to feel something different.
You were empty.
Completely.
Yeah.
And of course, I finally fulfilled it, but it took a hell of a lot, you know. And
self-reflection, man, you have that, and I don't think a lot of people dealing with similar shit have the luxury of getting to that place, right?
Unfortunately, you're right. Yes, they don't. You know, COVID. A lot of people when we went through the shutdown, people were asking me because people were losing their minds. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. You know, how do you feel about COVID and the shutdown? I think it's fucking amazing. They're like, you're an asshole. What do you mean? We're all locked in. I said, listen, now it's going to force people to look in that mirror.
Yes.
Because for us, COVID did a hell of a lot to us. We became TikTok famous. Our family got so much closer. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like me and my wife never had such time together. Like it was incredible. Then I look at how many divorces that happened. You know, it forced so many people to look in the mirror. And unfortunately for a lot of them, they're not ready, right? They're not ready to take that ownership or that responsibility.
Yeah, it's scary, right? It's so scary.
Yeah.
And I have family members dealing with it right now. And it's not easy. I've been through it myself. I know for anyone, I mean, mental health in general, for most of the world, is more of a modern, it's still, people are still getting used to it. People are still trying to make sense of modern or mental health being a real issue. Now, people like yourself who've been through the ringer and mm-hmm. like you've been through shit that's forced you to pay attention to it. Mm-hmm. It in a fucked up way, it made it more obvious for you, right? Mm-hmm. But people who've been through less, but enough for them to be fucked up in their heads and not know why. There's a blur. They can't get over that numbness. They can't understand where they are. They don't have that clarity and the will to fix it. Like yes. it takes all of that and more, which I want to use as a segue, because again, your story, I know there's darker shit that you told me, and you can bring them up as you wish. I want to get to that point where you you almost gave up yourself, if that's okay.
Yeah. I mean, I'll save my wife's story for another time because that's a whole insane story. Almost like
you have to come back on this show.
Yeah,
Please.
That, that
so
story
much
is
to it. Yeah.
that story is incredible. But you know, I will say it's a very important story because it will show just the meaning behind myself and my wife, right?
Please,
But needless to say, I met my wife, and it was at a point where it was getting worse. My anxiety and my depression were getting worse. When we were dating, I was really deep into the underworld, organized crime. And I was off to meet a couple friends, and I was just going to go with them for a meeting. They were going to have the meeting. I was just going to go with them to talk about something else, and we were going to take care of some business after. While I was with them, my wife, my girlfriend at the time, Valerie, she called me so many times that my phone almost died. And she was concerned. She's like, I got a bad feeling. I'm like, you don't bother me. And I mean, prior to this, we've been dating for a while at this point, right? Prior to this, I would be going out to do some really bad shit. And it would be like, I can't talk. Okay, be careful. I'll talk to you later. Love you. Bye. So while I'm out doing this really bad stuff, she didn't care. But now I'm just with these guys going for a drive, and she wouldn't stop. So I go, guys, listen, drop me off, go to the meeting. When you're done, call me, we'll meet up, and we'll take care of what we got to take care of. So I left, and I went to break up with her. Said, listen, I can't be with somebody like you. Like, I'm with my boys. I'm taking care of some stuff here, and I can't have that in my life. You know what I mean? Long story short, the guys I was with, when they went to that meeting, they were ambushed, and they were all murdered. It was a huge massacre out here in Canada. So that really hit close to me. And I put a ring on her finger right away. It was instantaneously. I'm like, holy shit. That's when I decided that there needed to be change, right?
I'm getting the chills just putting myself in that, even close to that situation. Like,
there was a couple of scenarios. There was 2 more times where I was at a place talking to somebody, and I went to walk away, and within 10 feet of me, he got murdered, gunned down. After I was married with Sebastian, our son Sebastian, I was on my way with him downtown to go meet another friend, just to go bring my son for ice cream and meet a buddy on a patio to watch the Italian soccer game. And my wife again called me. She's like, you're not going anywhere. You want to go meet those people? Drop off our son and you can go. So I got off the highway. I went to turn around, and sure enough, as I was doing that, he got murdered. Yeah, there's a lot of close calls I had. And
what did that mean to you, though? All of these fucking close calls. You're lucky, or what? What is it?
Now is a different story than that. Now it's one of those things where, yeah, it's a sign. Like, you weren't meant to be there. You weren't meant to be doing this stuff. But as it kept getting closer and closer to home, it's like, at what point are you going to smarten the fuck up? Like, how many chances do you fucking need right now to say, get the hell out of that shit? Because enough's enough.
And you're married at this point when this.
I was married at this point, and we had our son. Yeah, we had Sebastian.
Yeah.
But it just got worse. And I think for me, the most tragic night, it was hard seeing my wife go through what she was going through with me. You can't make plans. I developed something called emetophobia, which is the phobia of vomiting. Through anxiety, you tend to develop phobias, right? More often than not, it's usually a social phobia, people have. But for me, I developed a phobia of vomiting. Now, it doesn't sound like much because, nobody likes to vomit. But when I tell you, I would be on a FaceTime call with my cousin in Italy, and I'm in Canada, and she would be telling me how she has a stomach bug, I wouldn't sleep for 3-4 days. You can't eat meat because what if you get sick? My steaks look like hockey pucks. My burgers had to be well done. Couldn't go into any restaurants. I was addicted to Gravel, like an anti-nausea medication that's over the counter. So, I'm popping, you shouldn't have more than 4 over 24 hours. I'm popping 6 to 8 a day. It just, everything just came crashing down. I was fighting with everybody. I was an asshole. My wife went through hell. I just made a decision. I just didn't want to be here anymore. I didn't want to put anybody through that. Like, it's funny because it's like almost like you're acting. I know I really wasn't this person who was being this asshole and who was fighting with everybody and being so stubborn. It was just anxiety, right? Because with anxiety, you are controlling everything. Everything needs to be controlled. There's A and there's B. Nothing can come in between with that, or else you are a fucking disaster. You get irritable, you get agitated, you snap easy. And a lot of times you see people out there that are assholes or that are just mean fucking people, and you don't recognize that this could be anxiety. These people are going through something that we don't know. So, one night I left. I had my gun. I went to the back of a building and I pulled the trigger. And I survived it. The only reason I knew I was still alive is because the amount of pain I was in. But an incredible thing happened. The second I pulled that trigger, I had immediate regret. When I came to and I was alive, I just appreciated everything. And it was so weird. It was like, seeing 1 + 1 = 2 written on a blackboard. That was the cure for anxiety. That was the cure for everything I've gone through. And it wasn't anxiety, it's just life. But I wasn't able to articulate it. I couldn't say it. And it was suicide saved my life. And I hate saying that, right? I hate saying that because, you don't want people to, like, if I were to hear that and I was suffering, I'm like, so what do you want me to do? Commit suicide and hope I survive? Like, no, it's not that. It's not.
Context. Everything is context, man.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. I fucking survived, man.
I'm a passionate guy. You probably picked up on that with one conversation, and I'm never, like, one thing that I'm not ashamed of is being emotional. Like I think it's helped me a lot from a, like, going down the wrong path. I'm saying that because you're telling me this and I'm fucking like ready to bawl because like that shit is dark, man. That's not, but it's light. It's dark and light.
It's light. Yeah. It's funny because, I'm the same as you. When I start talking and when I do my lives on TikTok or on our app, the only thing that gets me is when I talk about my wife. Say it right away.
Yeah.
She is just such an incredible human. I owe so much to that woman. I don't know how
she didn't give up on you when you did. There's no bigger strength than that. I mean,
people ask me all the time, we see what you go through with dealing with people with anxiety and depression. Even my clients will say, how the fuck do you do it? Like, I'm such, and my clients yell at me. They tell me to fuck off. They hang up on me. They call me every name in the book. Of course, I'm bringing them out of a comfort, right? Yeah. And then, after the fear subsided and, we have that heart to heart, I have not heard it from a client. They say, how do you do it? And it's simple. I know where I'd be right now if my wife ever gave up on me. And I know what it takes to want to see past the anxiety and depression. And I know how hard it is to see past that. There's not a lot of people that can do that. And it takes a lot to be able to pull somebody out of the grips of anxiety. So I'll never give up. As long as people want to overcome it, I will always be there for those people because I know what it did for me with my relationship with my wife. And that was my survival. Like, after I had healed and I was home, I remember looking at my wife and I remember, I want her to see that her love was worth it, that she deserved it. God forbid I do this and I get taken away. How is she going to feel? This woman poured her heart and her soul into me. This woman stood by my side for this long. and I'm going to go, and it's almost like a slap in the face for her. Meanwhile, on the other end of the spectrum, I'm doing this because I don't want her to suffer anymore. I don't want her to put up with somebody like me. I don't want her to have to go through life like this anymore. And more importantly, my son. It's deep, man.
You didn't want to be an asshole anymore.
No.
Right? I think that was the wake up call was that, and the clarity, which is fucking insane, right? Sometimes we need it to be that black and white. Like you said, it's either A or B. That was where you were at. You're like, this is I can't deal with this shit. I'm going to end it all, because that's the only way you could see it. There was no gray. And you finally saw clarity in that moment. And you told me about the story where you started to actually see color. You mentioned this.
So after I got home, it was one morning. I went outside and to have a coffee. My wife came out. We were sitting outside having a coffee, and I remember turning over and I seen this tree, and the leaves were like, it was just beautiful. And I started crying like a little baby. And she's like, babe, what's wrong? And all that I can say was like, the tree's green. She literally was like picking up the phone, thought it was something's wrong with him. Like, what the fuck's going on? It was to me, it was, my whole world was black and white. And you know, it comes through with my steps about being present and being able to be aware.
Yeah.
Right? Anxiety, the way I've always explained it, it's like seeing the sun, but not feeling the warmth of it on your face. That's what it's like living with anxiety. You are literally seeing everything in black and white because you're constantly on guard. You know, it's constant, and people don't get that. You know, envision a soldier in the front line of fire, and there's enemy all around, you know, and this is you're fighting for your life, and you got that gun up, and any little movement you're turning, and it's just fucking exhausting. It's fucking draining. People don't see that. People don't get that. And they think you can just snap out of it. You know, hey, don't worry about it. Sure, it's fucking easy to say, don't worry about it. But, you know, the chemical imbalances and what's going on in your mind and what you've already programmed into it is a whole different fucking cascade of emotions, right?
Man. So you're bawling like a baby looking at a tree. And I mean, based on just the little bit of snippet that you've shared about your life, like I would do the exact same thing, I feel, because just from the little that you've shared, obviously there's boatloads more that you've gone through. Yeah, but that even emphasizes that moment more. So how long after this awakening did you decide, all right, I want, like, you started working on self-healing?
Change. It was instantly. And I knew it was instant because for as long as I can remember, and when I am telling you, I am not exaggerating. For as long as I can remember, I have always had to have somebody beside me at night, awake. Imagine being married and your husband always has to have a friend over all hours of the night. I have not slept. I didn't sleep in bed for years and years and years being married because I had to be on the couch. I mean, the second I wake up in the morning, who am I going to call to come over tonight so I can chill and they can be awake so I can fall asleep? That's how it was for me. After my suicide attempt, it was the first time I went home. I didn't have to take any medication and I didn't have anybody at my house. It was incredible, but I wasn't healed. It wasn't, I'm done.
It was the beginning.
It was the awakening.
Yeah.
That was it. I knew what I had to do and I knew the steps. And it like I said, it was almost like the universe, God downloaded the journal step by step into my mind, how to overcome anxiety. And I always say anxiety and not depression because to me, unless it's clinical, like I said, it's like less than 3%, right? And you're going to have to get medication. But a lot of people oversee the anxiety because the depression takes such a stronghold. They don't recognize that it's not the depression, it's the anxiety. It's like going to the doctors for a cold and they're going to treat your runny nose. It makes no sense to me. Treat the anxiety and you will rid of the depression, right? Yeah. So it was literally like that whole journal was just downloaded. It was all downloaded, and now I was just going through every single exercise in that journal, step by step.
You had clarity. You had clarity.
It was amazing. It was such a huge awakening moment, but it was a long journey after that.
Of course.
It still was.
Well, you know, literally thank your lucky stars, because, and I'm thankful for having learned about you, because you're helping people without even knowing it, you know, and I hope people listening to this can connect. And I hope that you can learn that it's okay to reach out. It's okay to talk to people. It's okay to be real. In a sense, we all are actors in this world.
Yes.
We all fucking go through shit, and everybody has different levels. Never compare. Comparing our shit to other people doesn't help them or you. It just shows you that someone had it shittier or you had it shittier. It doesn't do anything for you.
It's a hard concept for people to grasp, right? Like, to compare, like they don't see that. It's something, like I said, in my journey of healing, you recognize stuff like, you know, my son playing his video game and, you know, my wife calling him for dinner. You'd be like, okay, mom, hang on a second, you know, and she's like, get down here and hurry up. And he's freaking out. It's like the end of the world for him. And for us, we're like, it's only a video game, bud. But at one point for us, that was the end of the world. It's the same concept now. Everybody's on their different paths, right? So it's about compassion and allowing people to be themselves.
And love. I mean,
yeah.
There's so much love.
Of course.
I mean, the love is everything. I have no shame in walking to random people and telling them I love them.
Yep.
And they'll look at me like I'm a lunatic, and that's okay.
Yeah, they start to change at you.
we got plenty of them out here already in Sacramento. No, but seriously, man, I mean, and I say all this not like it's news. Like, everybody deals with this shit. And the more I talk to random strangers, and luckily through my field and acting and comedy, I'm meeting new people all the time. Mm-hmm. And it's like, my mind was so closed for a long time, because we all grow up, and who's our hero? The people that we grew up with, right? The parents, the uncles, the whoever, mm-hmm. you know, and the aunts. And it's like, the moment for me when I had clarity was 3 years ago. I literally woke up and I said, I haven't done what I've been wanting to do for 30 years, which was comedy and acting. All I did was music, which I don't regret. I love music and it's still a part of my life. But my calling has always been there in the back of my mind. And for different reasons, I was living for others. I was living for other people's, like other people's approval. Mm-hmm. And I think for me, that came from anxiety. That came from wanting to be making them proud.
Well, it's self-esteem issues, right? With anxiety comes self-esteem. You know, you become insecure, and we sacrifice what we want for what we can get right now, right? It's that instant, you know, like Instagram, TikTok. I didn't get the views, and there's not enough likes. It's like one of my videos. I thought it was the best video ever. I only got like 43,000 views on it. Then we did a stupid video. It's at 40 million. Who gives a shit? Like,
who gives a shit?
Who fucking cares, man? You know. But people look at that. It's like they think they might not be good enough if they didn't get this, or, you know, they're not, their picture isn't good enough, or they're not pretty if they didn't get these likes or the views. And it comes with the territory, right?
I'm so optimistic about social media and where it's going. It's gone through dark days. Social media has had its negativity, and it's always about who's controlling the mouse, right? Who's controlling the keyboard? Who's controlling that tweet? Who's controlling whatever is about to come out?
Yep.
It's the bigger picture, though, that I'm starting to see, and I still haven't seen the full picture, and I know that. But what I see, where I am hopeful that it's going, is that it's putting purity back into the world, and it's putting purity back into the hands of the people. There's not one group of 1%ers that can tell you and dictate what you take in.
They're not controlling everything.
They tried, and they can't. It's not happening because the internet is so special. It's probably the greatest invention that humanity has had, because it's even better than airplanes, I would say. Because
I wish I had it when I was studying anxiety. Fuck, I'll tell you that right now, man. I had like piles of books on my bed every night reading them, right?
You don't have to walk to the library and shit, right? And wait, right? But like everything is there, dude. Everything.
You got to take the good with the bad, though, right? Because you missed, like, 2 years ago, I think, 3 years ago, just before COVID, I remember coming home and I seen like 6 bikes on my front lawn. I fucking started crying. I pulled in and I sat outside just fucking crying. My wife comes out. She's like, what happened? I'm like, look at the bikes. And she just laughed at me, right? She knows what that meant. That was the cool thing back then. We all congregated at our friends, threw the bikes on the lawn. Right. That meant shit was going down. Like stuff was happening, and then now it's internet. So there is a lot of good. And and like I said, I don't want to say there's the good and there's the bad, because that's up to us.
That's right.
It's up to us. It's like saying, with God, here's life. Hey, it's up to you what you want to do with it. Here's this amazing, internet, this incredible thing we are going to give you.
Yeah.
And it's up to you what you decide to do with it, right? It's all perspective.
It's all perspective and
choice.
There's with every new invention, human error is there, and we're gonna fuck it up before we know how to use it properly. Right? It's like nuclear weapons.
Yes,
it didn't have to be this way, and we're in the middle of the fuckery right now.
But I agree.
But eventually, we're gonna realize, oh, we just took some life off of Earth. Let's not do that.
It's true.
And it's greed, and it's ego, and it's power hungry, and it's all of that. And
it's ego. It's all ego, brother. It's ego.
It's all on the surface, and it's not thinking deeply. And you don't have to think that deep to realize, wait, let me just love.
Yeah.
How much more can we accomplish if we just work together?
But it's how, right? I think that's a lot of what I push and I try and teach people how to. People don't see that, you know?
So talk about that now. Talk about what you're teaching and what your book is about.
So, I mean, for me, it's about, understanding right and wrong. Right and wrong serve purpose to pride and ego.
Yeah.
Okay. And when you take things into context, there's a difference here. For me, it's not about right and wrong. It's what works and what doesn't work. And I concentrate on the why. That if you were to take my entire program, why? That's it. It's a very simple concept. Why? But ask that question internally. Okay. Why is a question that is going to make you play victim or survivor? And it goes deep, and it can continue to go deep. The more you ask it, the more you're going to start learning about yourself.
Wow.
But it's about taking the ownership. I'll give you an example. I helped this young lady, and this is now me helping other people, just how the why works. Okay. So I got this case from a clinic in the States. I think she was going on 15 years, very, very severe case, extreme anxiety, PTSD, depression. She was a primary caregiver for her father. She went away. Her father ended up passing away. She came back a week later, went through the door and found him dead. Okay, she's never been able to escape that moment. So now I get her, and the first question it's okay. How do you feel? And she goes, I can't get past seeing him like that, and I felt helpless, and I feel like it was my responsibility. But I said, okay, so you're upset? She goes, yeah. I said, why? She literally looked at me like, are you a fucking idiot? Like, my fucking dad died, but it doesn't matter. Why are you upset? Again, she's like, my fucking dad died. I'm like, okay, but wait a second. People die every single day.
You're digging,
right? Yeah. People die all the time. Why is his death bothering you? She goes, well, he's my dad. But that is just a label. Okay. It takes something different to become a father. She goes, yeah, I agree with you. I said, okay, so you can't say I'm upset because my dad. You got to go deeper. Why? And she started talking about how he was. And as she started getting deeper, you can now start to see everything just started lifting. And when she was going back to those moments and those memories with her father, now she's smiling, and just, some tears came, but they were good tears. So it was a very simple question, but she just didn't know how to ask it and how to answer it. You know, anytime, you know, so many things happen and people will come to me with anxiety and, you know, it'll cause an issue or something will happen. I'm like, okay, well, why? Well, because my wife did this or my husband did this or my partner did this. I'm like, well, why? It's not because they're like that. It's about what it made you feel like. You know, the situations happen every single day in life. Yeah. Every day something happens. It fucking has nothing to do with what happened. Who fucking cares what happened? Yeah. It's why did it make you feel like that?
Yeah.
And it's the imprint that it left because we react, we don't respond. Mm-hmm. And that's a big problem with people. Mm-hmm. We react right away. As an actor, I've learned anger is not an emotion, it's a reaction. Mm-hmm. You know, a lot of things that happen in life cause these emotions, these imbalances. And I tell people, I'm like, you do realize that you are only functioning with 5% of your conscious mind. Like, what are you talking about? 95% of what you are doing, your patterns, your attitude, your mentality, everything about you comes from your subconscious mind. And it is controlling 95% of your daily activities. And you have no fucking idea. And it is taking in 100 million bits per second. The conscious mind is maybe taking 50 to 100.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, we can change these patterns. You're not who you are. You know, I look at you, you are not who you are. Mm-hmm. You are who you want to be. Mm. And people have a hard time grasping that. No, this is how I am. No, I was raised like that. I was like this. No, it's like, listen, you are who you want to be. Your parents, I'm sure they're great people, but you're not them. You inherited it. It's up to you to decide what you want to do with it.
Yeah.
And, you know, times are changing and there's more anxiety out there because people now are you know, kind of, they're in the shell. They don't know who they are. They don't know who they want to be. They're so constricted with so much shit that's going on in this world. Why do you think there's so much anxiety? It's fucking insane out there.
You know what helps me with that though?
What's that?
With the whole fucking, all the shit that's going on in the world. I just don't watch TV. I mean, it's
can I give you a pointer?
Yeah, go ahead.
You know what the best thing that helped me?
Yeah.
Okay. Repeat after me.
Okay.
It's
not
my fucking problem.
It's
done.
Not my fucking problem. Done.
Now, it's not to say that you're going to live like an asshole and you're going to say this out loud. Say this internally, because the second that you're able to say that internally, you are separating the emotional attachment.
Mm-hmm.
And when you separate the emotional attachment, you can have more of an open mind. You can put yourself into somebody else's shoes and you'll see a different perspective on it. And it won't make you freak out as much.
Yeah.
Right? You're removing the burdens that we've had from our childhood into today's life. And you just, hey, it's not my fucking problem. Hey, I'll help you. But what you're going through is not my fucking problem. You know, a lot of people look at me sideways when I say that or when I'm giving that advice, but just bear with me, right? Like bear with me and really think about what I'm saying. Because you're able to really get to the bottom of solutions.
Solution is what connects us, not the problems.
Absolutely.
I get it. Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's true. Now, are these part of that 5-step process?
So, I mean, the 5 steps are I mean, step 1 is about being present, being aware. It really helps people understand what it is to be present.
That's been a struggle for me.
To be able to be aware. Step 2, we talk about communication. There's a lot about communication in there, right? And not so much communication with other people, it's ourselves. Whatever you tell yourself is going to be a direct reflection of who you are. When I get deeper into anxiety with you and I tell you about the way anxiety is, language is huge. Huge. And then, you know, another step in there is fear, you know, because fear doesn't exist. It's whatever we say it's going to be, right? I mean, you're scared of something that I might not be, right? Yep. So at the end of the day, fear, it's the unknown. Once you know, there's nothing to fear. You know, the ultimate step with all my steps, the ultimate step is to help people become more vulnerable. Yeah. Very simple concept.
It's so powerful. Being vulnerable, people look at it as being a weakness. It's power.
about having an open mind, right?
Oh, so
I mean, when you look at what vulnerability is simply about having an open mind. That's really all it is.
it is. It is. It's and a quick point on fear.
Mhm.
It's taught. It's not. It's a learned behavior. It's not a. That's why it's not real, because it's
Cognitive, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's we listen. It's like education.
Yeah.
These are learned behaviors, racism, fear. It's all learned behaviors. We go through that in step 2 is all about emotions.
Yeah.
And we go through that, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
We go through the emotional imbalances and where these come from. And
amazing, man. This is great things. Do you believe in the notion that everything happens for a reason?
150% with all my being. I wouldn't have my app. We have an app that's newly released, right? On iStore and Google Play. That goes through all these steps that helps people with anxiety and depression. I wouldn't have had that. I wouldn't have had my wife. If I have the honor and pleasure of coming back on the show, we can talk about my wife. And I mean, the story between my wife. That alone should have been a movie. It's insane.
Yeah.
I believe
there
are no coincidences. This is stuff that happens for a reason. I tell people that, people only see the bad. Yeah. They never want to see the good in the bad. Somebody was driving on the highway getting to an interview. They've been looking for a job for a couple of years, and they landed this incredible job. It would have set them up for life, and on the way there, they got a flat tire. They missed the interview and they lost the job, and they're depressed. You don't know what the fuck would have happened if you had gotten that job. But 6 months later, they landed their dream job. Their dream job they landed. Now, not to say that that's going to happen all the time. Mm-hmm. But getting into that mishap and having that flat tire could have prevented you from getting into a car accident and getting killed. Mm-hmm. You could have gotten that job, and God knows what direction your life would have went in. I mean, people really don't recognize that, and it's unfortunate because it is there. People just want to see the bad. Somebody's driving in the car, and I mean, you're in LA. I mean, I know how crazy the drivers are there, but down here, they're driving and they're speeding and they cut you off, and you can allow them to ruin your entire life. But I thought back to when I had to race like that. It was to go say bye to my grandfather because he was on his deathbed. It was to go say bye to my grandmother because she was dying. It was to go say bye to my cousin who was dying. And I can only imagine what that person is racing, what they're going through. So I can be an asshole. I can cause road rage. I can let that steer my whole day. Instead, I have compassion. And I thought, I know what it's like when I was in that rush, and I'm thankful that I'm not that person. Simple. Little concepts that I teach that are incredibly simple.
The whole reason why we focus on the bad is because it's not it's easier to do that than to look at the good. And to find the good, it's uncomfortable though. You have to go through shit. It's
part of our sympathetic nervous system. At the same time, we're not generally nosy people. When we hear somebody got shot over here, it's like, where? Yeah. Where did it happen? What happened? Yeah. That's not because we're nosy people. It's because it's our sympathetic nervous system. Our minds are trying to protect us. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So when those negative emotions and the anger and all these negative emotions that come, our mind generally right away is there for protection. Yeah. Our brain's only function is survival. That's our brain's only function. Yeah. So, pain, guilt, all the negative emotion, the emotional attributes, they release these chemicals that are almost like a danger reflex for our system. Yeah. So now what happens is our mind kicks in right away, and it's got to protect us. Yeah. Right? Yeah. Much like anger, it's that protection. Guilt, it's that protection. It's I mean, the neuroscience behind it, I can be here for hours going through that, hours going behind the neuroscience behind anxiety in the mind and how we function. But
Man,
Yeah.
and I do want you, listen, this is like I said at the top, this is just scratching the surface of what you've been through and what you have to share, because what you have to share, and I'm not just blowing smoke up your ass. I'm saying, like, you and many other people who've gone through shit, you guys have, that is your gift in a way. That is your way to give back and
I
help.
didn't, I got to be honest with you, brother. I didn't give a shit to help anybody. Fuck, I didn't care. I didn't fucking care about anybody. I wanted to help myself.
Yeah.
I didn't give a fuck, right?
Yeah.
But
that came for you.
I mean, I helped myself, and I became an actor again, and I was huge. I booked 7 fucking lead roles in 6 months. You're an actor.
Yeah.
7
I'm not
roles
there yet, but yeah.
7 roles in 6 months. You tell me that's heard of? No.
Yeah.
For those of you that are listening,
that's the lottery. Yeah.
For those of you that are listening, a very good qualified actor might land 1 lead role a year. Might. I booked 7 in 6 months. I was fucking killing it. Then I was on set for a very popular show, and we decided to put out vlogs on YouTube. I put out these vlogs, and overnight 30,000 fucking people reached out to me. And I was like, holy shit, what do I do? Like, yeah, I went to university to study anxiety. I studied psychology at McMaster. I went to Humber to take paramedicine, but I didn't give a fuck about anybody else. So anyways, long story short, I was helping people. It was great. But the acting was what was paying the bills. The acting that was my life. I was like, yeah, I get to do this again. Right. Mm-hmm. Long story short, I ended up in LA, close to you. I was in Burbank, performing on stage, and I won 3 awards. Best fucking day of my life, man. Yeah. 3 awards on the red carpet. It was just like, this is fucking life, man. Like, everything was great. In between this, I was helping my cousin. He was doing great. He was doing amazing. He had a long history of mental illness. My cousin was doing fucking incredible. When I went to LA and I booked 7 lead roles, everything was incredible. Things were good. I stopped helping people. The next call I got was my cousin committed suicide. And that was it. I said, I need to make a fucking decision. I need to go down one path or down the other. And me, like a fucking asshole and an idiot, I decided to go down the path of helping people and not paying my fucking bills. So I went down this path, and that's a whole nother story to get into. But yeah, I decided to go down this path, and
definitely not an idiot for that. I'm telling you.
You know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
You know what I mean.
I know. But no, dude, that is, yeah. Again, you kept getting hit in the face with these signs, even after you survived the attempt. You survived everything. You had clarity. You're in acting again. You think you got it, and it's funny how life reminds you what is really important, right?
It's the universe, man. They keep putting this shit in front of you. Say you got to be here, and then it's not even these subtle little things. They're literally kicking you in the ass and saying, "Get the fuck over there."
Yeah. When they do it gently, we don't catch it, right? So then they got to shove it up our
little subtle little hints. No, man.
Hey,
but
listen.
Yes.
Hey, where can everyone find everything that you have to offer? Is it all on your website?
So it's on my website, iamhere.org. IAMHEAR.org.
It's in the description,
on there, you
guys.
can find everything is under I Am Here. You can find us on TikTok, on Instagram, but please, if you do that, look for the verified account, because if it doesn't have the blue check, it's not us. Except on Instagram. We're going through the process now, but TikTok, Instagram, we're everywhere. The app can be found. You can right now, actually, we have a free download. So there's a free program we have on our app. It's a 5-day challenge for people. It's a 5-day program just to see people, to show people what we have to offer. Yeah. So what I did was I took each step and compressed it into 1 day. It's very cool. It comes with your own journal. You get to see me. There's a couple of great videos on there. But what you would have to do is go onto our website at iamhear.org. You'll see a sign up, because it's very, very confidential. It's very, very personal. We're very, very secure, right? Yeah. So if you sign up to the website, you will get your password and your username. Then you either go onto Google Play or you go onto the iStore, type in I Am Here, download our app, put in your username and email, and grab our free 5-day, the 5 days in our courses under the store. So if you go to the store on our website, you'll see courses there. Scroll to the bottom, you'll see the free mini challenge.
Perfect. You guys know what to do. No clear description, explanation. Everything Anthony just said is going to be in the description of this episode. Thank you so much for coming on. One of many, I hope. I hope you will,
There's a lot we left out, brothers.
Yes.
You let me know, and we can definitely do this again. It would be a pleasure.
Absolutely. I feel like you're a friend, and I've only talked to you seriously. Yeah. I talked to you over the phone and FaceTime once, and now here.
Love it. Absolutely.
And next time I'm in Toronto, I'm definitely connecting with you. We got to chat in person.
My door is open for you, my friend, and I'm looking forward to coming to LA again. But let's do this again.
Now I'm in Sacramento, but I will meet you in Burbank or LA. It's cool. Yeah. I that's not a far drive. I'm open to it. I'm willing to do it, especially if you're coming. You let me know.
Absolutely.
Yeah, man. Guys, this was a special episode because we talk about real shit. I've had episodes we just goof off. We talk comedy. We talked all types of topics have been on here, and episodes like this remind me why I did this to begin with. Togetherness, purity, bringing all walks of life here, because everyone has a story. Everyone is unique. Everyone has something to share that others can learn from or take something to help themselves and in return help others. This has been episode 62, Fumble Podcast. This, my good friend now, Anthony Caputo. Find him. The website is in the description. Get his book. Get the app. I'm PejTheManiac on all social media, and Fumble Podcast and PejTheManiac on YouTube. Hit that subscribe button. It'll help me out a great deal. And comment your thoughts on this episode. I want to hear from you guys. And Anthony, he'll read them too. I'm putting him on the task. But love you guys. I will see you guys on episode 63. Anthony, thanks again for joining us, man.
Absolute pleasure, my friend. I look forward to coming back.
Thank you. You will definitely be back. All right, guys. Catch you on the next one.